right club. Be the right club today.
Johnny, that's better than most.
How about in?
That is better than most. Better than most!
Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Happy Hour, presented as always by our friends at FanDuel, kicking off Women's Major Championship SZN season, as Grant Boone called it on the preview podcast. Solly here, joined by my guy, Mr. Cody McBride. Hello, Cody. How are we?
Buddy, how we doing, man? I'm excited. You know, we only have 5 of these on LPGA.
5 weeks a year.
I'm just kidding. I am really excited. There's so many starts and stops on the LPGA calendar that now we're finally in like the heat of it. It just is weird that it kind of feels like this major came out of nowhere and it's like at the beginning chunk of it. But I'm pumped, man.
A lot of stuff that this major is fighting. We can cover some of that. You guys covered that on the early part of the preview this week as well. But listen, that was a great episode. If you haven't got a chance, go back, listen to that, get you caught up on things. Grant Boone's got great perspective on things. And if you don't have time to get to that, we're going to get you caught up on all things LPGA ahead of the first major. We're going to have a guest joining us very shortly. The LPGA Tour is in full swing, and FanDuel is your ultimate destination for all the action, from outright winners to player props. There's a bet for every moment on the course, and don't miss a second. Live betting lets you stay in the game as the action unfolds. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today. Take a swing at betting the LPGA Tour today. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. All right. Well, we got a lot to get into. We're gonna get into our guests, as I mentioned. We're gonna do some storyline look-ins. We're gonna look at the favorites and their kind of recent results as well. Jordan Perez is gonna join us a little later to talk about some of the AMs that are playing in the field. We're gonna get to some of our picks. We're gonna do a little Zurich stuff on the back end, kind of close some loops from last week as well. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of things. And nobody knows the nuts and bolts of the game, men's or women's side, like our guy Justin Ray, coming to you live from the media center at the Chevron. Hello, Justin. How we doing?
How we doing, boys?
You're less pink than you were 10 minutes ago, as you mentioned.
Good.
On the ground reporting is
the scale
important
down
here.
just a touch. Yeah. It's look, I grew up about 10 minutes from this golf course, just outside the Woodlands, in the Houston area. And look, you can grow up in the humidity, but I've been gone from it for too long. I am not conditioned for 93%, 90%. I mean, at least it's not 100 right now. But yeah, no, I'm glad I'm less pink than I was a few minutes ago.
Well, that's the kind of reporting I needed to hear, though. I mean, you can
Boots
read it on the
ground,
apps.
baby.
Yeah, you can read it on the apps, but like, there's something to. No, I just got off this golf course, and there's a lot of water out there, and it's very humid right now.
We're calling it a gold bond, multiple pairs of socks kind of week.
Well,
That's what we're working with.
I'll say that about the humidity too. Like, it's one of those things that you think you can train yourself for, and then it just like almost hits you worse every single year. Of like, oh yeah, no, I did it last year, I could do it, and then it hits you like, no, I cannot do this. There's no humans were not meant to survive this. Anyways, lots to talk about, but I know you've got some stats and some looks into this week to prepare us for this week. What do we need to know about the field, the course, the championship, whatever you got? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I want to start with just how significant performance off the tee is on this golf course. I mean, and it's only going to get more so with the amount of rain we got this morning and the more rain we could get coming up in the days ahead. The top 10 finishers of the Chevron Championship since the move to Carlton Woods have got 22% of their strokes gained total for the week on shots off the tee. The LPGA Tour average in that span is just 14%. So that gives you some perspective on the high finishers and how important driving the ball really well has been. I got to walk a couple of holes with Allison Corpuz yesterday, and she mentioned that it's playing even longer than it did the previous 2 years. She mentioned some tee boxes that were moved back a little bit. Maybe that was just the setup we saw on Tuesday for the Pro-Am, but I mean, look, the rain we got and the trends we saw in the past, it's the longest golf course on the LPGA Tour, and it's only going to play longer as this week progresses.
Certainly interesting. I mean, honestly, it's hard to
hearing that.
Well, I mean, it's good for some of our favorite golfers, I think, and it's definitely how I view like the odds going into this. And Cody, I'm going to quiz you as we get down the favorites. I'm going to ask you to just cross off some names, but it helps me honestly cross off some rather big names that are way up there on the favorites list. I mean, Nelly won this thing last year. We've seen Angel Yin come very close to winning at this golf course. Lily Vu, like it it's truly a bomber's delight. And everything you're telling me about the conditions leading up into this and how it's set up so far is leading me in that direction.
If you look at the top 3 players in scoring here the last 2 years, they're Nelly Korda, obviously, Carlota Saganda, and A-Lim Kim. This season, they are 1, 3, and 4 on the LPGA Tour in strokes gained off the tee. So that's not a coincidence. It's an incredibly important factor. And like you said, it might be a reason to cross some of those names off that maybe aren't the longest in the field.
Certainly interesting. All right. What's next?
So I'm going to go with a player who, a friend of your show, a friend of mine, Solheim Cupper, who's actually right in front of me. The media center overlooks the 9th green. That's Lauren Coughlin. And I want to talk about how much better she's been on the greens. We all know that the key to her turning her career from, a rank and file LPGA Tour player to a star has been her improvement on the green. She's always been a really good ball striker, but just how dramatic it is, I don't think people realize. From 2022 through the 23 season, Lauren gained 1 stroke or more putting in 14% of her rounds played. Since the beginning of last year, that number is over 40%. She's gone from losing more than half a stroke per round on the greens to gaining more than half a stroke. It's been a true weakness turning into a strength thing for Lauren, and it's dovetailed with her, climb in the game.
Like, you do not have to fake. You don't have to bend yourself over backwards to talk yourself into her winning this golf tournament, which is just
absolutely not.
It's kind of like the Max Homer rise we've seen as well in terms of I know he's our friend, but is he really that good? Is he that good? I kind of don't believe it. And now, ahead of it, even now, part of me just all the years following Lauren through the Epson Tour and LPGA, you're not, you're not inclined to immediately think oh yeah, it's Nelly, and then Lauren is who I'm thinking about to win. Holy crap! What an unbelievable rise, and it's just all backed up by what you just said.
Yeah, I've got one quick story about Lauren too. Last year, coming here. I was here early in the week. I think it was Tuesday before, and I met with Captain Stacey Lewis and then Morgan Pressel and Angela Sanford, and we were talking about players that were trending for the U.S. team, things like that. And I was like, there's this player. She hasn't won yet on the LPGA Tour, but all these underlying numbers are really pointing upwards. I think she's going to have a really big week. What do you guys think of Lauren Coughlin? And then she went out and shot 66 on Thursday. It made me look incredibly smart. And I made sure that after the after party, after winning the Solheim Cup, that I told her, thank you for making me look that smart in that moment, going out and lighting it up immediately after I went out on somewhat of it wasn't really a limb when you look at the numbers, but she wasn't a name that was, bursting through the screen saying she's going to be on this roster. And then she was an integral part of the team winning at RTJ.
She learned so much from this tournament last year. J. Ray, you hit the nail on the head there. First round leader, and then going out, with a lot of weight and some expectations that I don't think she's ever really had to deal with being in that position. Fires rounds of 73, 71, and then finally closed with a 68. Ended up finishing T3rd. But that springboarded her towards what the rest of the year ended up being. She went and finally got that first victory. She immediately followed up there. Oh, by the way, she probably, I said this before, if there was any other player besides Ayaka Furue that played the Evian, that was LC's tournament, and she would have won that. Unfortunately, she didn't lose that tournament. Somebody just went out and took it, LC should be a major championship by now. And her being here with, I know she's not theoretically from Houston, but her parents have lived in the Woodlands for a long time. She's very familiar with this course. She has tons of good feelings around it and history, to fall back on. She's learned so much in the last year, and I am so excited that you brought her up as the second person on this list. So where are we going with number 3?
Wait, just super quickly, just to remind people, since the T3 at the Chevron last year, won twice last year, as you mentioned, balled out at the Solheim Cup, absolutely awesome. Balled out, was probably the best player on the U.S. team. And then the last 2 starts she's made, she finished runner-up to Madeline Sagstrom in the match play, and she finished T3 last week. And the golf course suits her that well. It's plus 2,800, almost you can talk me into that being a steal. It might be a little teaser for one of my picks later. I'm serious. I'm getting hyped. Sorry. Next up.
No. So I'll go with a player that's higher up on the odds board, and justifiably so. The co-favorite going into the week. Last time I looked, Jeeno Thitikul, since last September, she's made 13 starts on the LPGA Tour. She hasn't finished worse than 12th in that span. 12 top 10s, more than 3 strokes gained total per round, which is an obscene number, half a shot better than anyone else in that span. And she's doing it everywhere. She's 7th strokes gained ball striking in that span, and by far first in strokes gained putting. to me, the biggest storyline going into the major championships in the women's game in 2025 isn't if Jeeno wins a major, it's when and how many. She's so unbelievably talented. A breakthrough is coming. It's the last thing she's got on this list of things to do in pro golf is to go on and win a major championship, and she's playing as good or better than anybody on the planet right now.
Yeah. It's very weird because she is so good. And I think the one thing that, Randy and I talk about this a lot, it's like, wow, she's really good. Why didn't she win a little bit more?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Little
crown. She gets a little crowned from this little group. Not either you guys, but the group that's not on the pod a lot. The people that like get really close to winning and don't win usually get Randy's wrath, and Randy's all in on Jeeno, and I kind of want him to hold some of the same standards he's forced on other people to her, because still has 0 top 3 finishes at majors. I know that's a pretty like random poll. She does have 3 top 5s, but hasn't been that close to winning a major yet. Her resume speaks for itself. Like, she performs very, very well, very, very, very consistently, but it takes really wild peak weeks to win some of these things. And I just want to see just a little bit more before I get overhyped about Jeeno.
So quickly, while you mentioned teammates and colleagues not on this call, I have a very concerning report for our man TC. The big letter hats the pandemic has permeated Southeast Texas.
I can only imagine.
There are tournament workers wearing them this week. Chev, CHEV. Chev, maybe the worst I've seen. Chev.
What worse would be if they would have combined not putting the vowels in them, which I think those are kind of going away.
CHVN or something.
Shiv. Like, it looks like an airport code. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Chev hats. So I'm dismayed to relay the report.
How about that?
TC's offices.
If Jeeno wins, you got to buy me a Chev hat and send it to me, and I'll wear it on the show next week. That's my
100% done.
Also, not very Houston. I thought maybe there's some like P Wall hats or like M Jones, something like that. You got to keep it local. We're trying to keep it going here.
HUMD.
We get a Carl one for Carlton Woods.
Listen, there's a member in the chat right here, Mr. Cameron Fraser. He's a member at this club, so we apologize. But hey,
I like the golf course. I got
to
play it years and years ago. I mean, I talked to Stacy about it. It was Stacy Lewis and I lived 15 minutes apart, never knew each other growing up, but we have the same high school graduating class. So we talk about, like, can you imagine a major championship being here, like when we were growing up? And she was like, the golf course wasn't even here when we were growing up. So I think it's a beautiful course, and I've enjoyed it the couple times I've got to play it. So
hey, Jay,
caveat, but the hats are everywhere.
Speaking of golf course and kind of the evolution of this, a lot is said about, changes of venues and Palm Springs to here, but nobody can say that Chevron is not putting their money where their mouth is. They've not only invested big time in purse, everything else, laying new traditions, the Champions Dinner, making a big deal out of this major championship, including putting a ton of money into this golf course. Last year was the first year that we saw with new greens, new bunkers, and some new tee boxes that were out there. It was very firm and fast. Now this week we got a little bit of moisture. Are we expecting it to play, as firm as it can, or has it softened up over time?
Yeah, I think it's going to be impossible with the amount of water that we got just this morning. I mean, to be honest, it was a deluge. We got a lot of rain from 8:30 in the morning to almost noon. It rained pretty consistently, and there could be a little bit more here in the coming days. So I don't think it's going to play. It's not going to be as fiery as maybe they anticipated or planned or expected it to be in the weeks leading up to it. I'll give you other examples of the buy-in. The $8 million purse, the biggest it went up another. I can't remember what it was in A&A, but like a huge increase in purses. Walk in the players' parking lot. The past champions all have Bentleys, and everyone has an Escalade who doesn't have a Bentley. That's the player courtesy car situation. So I was walking. I felt very poor walking from the driving range to the media shuttle, but they're treating the players great. I love the Champions Dinner idea. And really envied that menu that Nelly put together. It was pretty great. But the investment Chevron's made into the event, the golf course, everything involved is top notch.
And these players on the LPGA Tour in the last month, they've had courtesy cars. They had F-150s and Mustangs to Escalades. Look at me now, okay?
So up the game a little bit, yeah. Different insurance bill.
Yeah.
We'll circle back on some of that, Cody, but I want to get through Jay Ray's list of things here before we move on.
Okay, our defending champion. Got to go with the world number one, Nelly Korda here. The last 2 years at Carlton Woods, 19.5 strokes gained tee to green, 10.5 strokes gained putting. The only player with 10 or more in both of those statistics, and she has nearly 20 in one of them. That's how good she's been. 8 shots better in relation to par than any other player over the last 2 years. I think if there was a golf course designed for her to give her an inherent advantage in terms of her ball flight, performance off the tee, it's this place, and no one should be surprised if she's in contention on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think if she was coming in playing just a little bit more Nelly golf, the hype would be a little bit out of control for this one. But yeah, still the favorite with Jeeno at plus 800. And if she does go on a win by 4, we'll sit here and just be like, well, we're idiots for not just talking about this for 30 minutes leading up into it, because it should be kind of obvious.
And she's not on the scorched earth tour she was a year ago coming in, right? But her putting numbers are actually, they weren't great last week. She didn't putt well last week, but overall in the season, they're really good. Her approach play isn't quite as sharp as it was at this point last year, but at that point, you're just you're picking it really, you're just really nitpicking at a player whose numbers across the board are still outstanding. And I mean, she's in perfectly good enough. She leads the tour in scoring average. I mean,
she's not playing very well.
No, she's really taken a step back. She's got the best scoring average on the LPGA tour. So, but yeah, no, I like her a lot this week. She hit more greens in regulation than Ingrid Lindblad last week. She just had 6 3-putts. I mean, and that was basically the reason why she wasn't a big factor coming in down the stretch.
All right.
One more off, a little bit off the beaten path. I don't know if I can say that because she's been playing really good golf recently. What do you know about Aki Iwai? 5th on the LPGA Tour in strokes gained total this season. I was surprised by this fact because she's just getting her major career started. The majors the last 2 years, the only player with more strokes gained ball striking per round than Iwai is Minjee Lee. That was really surprising to me because she hasn't had the big flashy finishes, but she's really had some good underlying metrics. Second in Los Angeles last week, despite finishing 77th for the week in strokes gained putting when you incorporate the whole field, including players who missed the cut. Plenty capable in terms of distance, 11th in driving distance, top 20 strokes gained off the tee. This is a name you need to have front of mind coming into this week.
I think she was plus 3,500. She just outside of the top favorites on there. As soon as I saw that one, I was like, man, I was like, oh, she must not hit it far enough. And as you answered my next question was, does she hit it far enough? And
that's the thing I looked at too. I was like, this is too quiet surrounding her based on everything she's done in the last few months. And that number with the ball striking in the majors speaks to her game being able to translate to a lot of different places as well.
Love that. Oh, that's got me quite. You're helping solidify a lot of thoughts I had coming into this, Jay Ray. But putting some, if I can put some data behind my eye test and gut feels, I'm going to start feeling myself a little bit here.
Absolutely.
Any final parting thoughts before we kick off the week?
Another name to look for is Lim Kim. Already won on the LPGA Tour this season. One of the longest players on tour. Tied for second in terms of cumulative score to par here the last 2 years. And remember, she won that COVID U.S. Open in the Houston area back in 2020. So that's the other name that I'd be remiss not to mention going into this week as somebody I like.
Love it.
Very good. Hey, Jay Ray, you mentioned Ake. You mentioned Ingrid just strictly because she won last week. The incredible rookie class this year. Anybody else you think you got to keep an eye on?
Oh, man. Those headline it. I'd have to dig a little bit more into some of the numbers. A player who I'm not even sure if she's technically a rookie because she's won 6-7 times in Japan. I love Miyu Yamashita. Her game across the board is so impressive. I mean, I remember when she kind of popped a little bit at Solheim last year. I was in the booth with Golf Channel, and Morgan Pressel was like, "Oh, what does she do well?" And I was just going through, well, she's top 10 in greens and regulation and scrambling and putting. And so it was basically everything across the board she was really good at. I don't think she's necessarily long enough to be a good fit here, but at some of the other major championship venues this season, she's someone to keep an eye on.
Very good.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff as always, Mr. Justin Ray. Have a great week out there at the Upside Down Chev, and we'll catch up with you soon as well. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Cool.
Anytime.
Thanks, buddy.
Give a shout out to our friends at Rhoback. You already know Rhoback. They got our favorite polos, hoodies, shorts, pants, you name it. Best fit, best feel. we're in the heart of spring. Rhoback is dialing up some of their incredible polo designs. They got some of those great florals on the site. They're just so good for the spring. If you're not a floral guy, the Fairway Fusion Polo is fantastic. If you like their classics, they got some fun stripe combos going as well. The Delta Looper shorts are my absolute favorite. They're back in stock for spring too. They're perfect golf shorts, and I can also get away with wearing them around town. They're very wrinkle resistant, which is important for me because I always throw my shit on the floor. And you can get multiple, always a sign of good quality when you get multiple wears out of something without having to wash it. I don't know if that makes me sound dirty, but that's just a sign of good quality. good quality. I mean, if you just like wear it around the house for a few hours, it doesn't need to go in the wash. Like you could get, but if it's bad material, it starts to smell really quickly. That's my whole point. It's a sign of quality. Time to load up on some Rhoback now that it's spring. Code NLU at Rhoback.com for generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off polos, shirts, and more with code NLU. All right, Cody, what are your 3, 4, I don't know how many you got for me, your biggest questions, storylines coming into this week?
Yeah, Justin mentioned a couple of them, but Jeeno Thitikul, can she do it? It's to the point now where she was even asked this in her press conference. You know, it's kind of getting to the point here where you need to be contending in majors more than you have. And I understand that you've been a full-time member on the LPGA Tour since 2022. You have 46 top 10 so far, but you also probably need to be winning a little bit more. I think this year and how she started this year so far has been absolutely on fire. Super, super impressive. It put herself in positions. And I think now this run up to this first major championship is definitely, can Jeeno get it done? She is in the best form out of anyone. If you look at who the top 5 are in the world right now, it's her. And I think it's a big question for her. Now I say she was asked that question and she was very much brush it off as like, yep, with my record and how I know how long my career is going to be, if I retired without winning a major championship, it wouldn't affect me at all because there's still all this amazing stuff that I was able to accomplish and more that I'll be able to do. But I think that is a little bit of deflecting, and I think she is finally starting to feel it. And, you know, hopefully this year is one of them because we have a great lineup of major championships, but really her game, her and Nelly they're made for this golf course, you know, and they're so consistent. Not only off the tee, have phenomenal short games and everything else that goes along with it, where they're not just pure power. They have the accuracy and putting when they need it. She's definitely the first one. The second one is Nelly, who absolutely is the most comfortable on this golf course than anyone else. Actually going to come back and, you know, we know she's going to be in the top 20 here. Okay. But is she going to be able to contend as she tries to defend this major championship? I know that she doesn't like thinking about it, but the year that she had last year, her major results finishes, and the fact that she's still sitting there with only 2 majors, Nelly wants to do a lot more than that. And I think now the focus is a little bit less off of week in, week out LPGA Tour events. And the focus is going to be, hey, how do we best prepare ourselves for the 5 majors that we get a year? And I think we're going to see that this week from Nelly. The third one is it's LC.
Let's go.
You know, I think it's very weird because we joked about this, how Max had that incredible run in California. And then we got to LACC, where he was a course record holder or shared the course record until Big Stu came and took it away. But, you know, this is one of those things where I've never felt like, I don't feel sheepish at all saying like LC is like top 3 on this golf course. There's nobody playing better, more consistent, and as familiar. And the game to back it up, if you look at strokes gained and everything here at Carlton Woods. And I cannot wait to watch and see what happens.
And I don't feel like anxious or nervous for her. Like I feel like she just views this as a great opportunity, and I don't think she's one of the types to put too much pressure on herself in this situation with like the stars kind of aligning for her this week. It's really got me that hyped. All right, Cody, if somebody hasn't followed the LPGA Tour closely over the past several months, not really knowing how games are trending leading up into this, we're going to go. I think I found about 15 names, the top 15 favorites. I'm going to give you their recent results, and I want you to give me a quick buying or selling of their chances this week. I'm not going to audit you, but I want them to be about even. You can't have like 14 buys here. All right. I gotta hear some sells, but Nelly, top favorite. She's T16, T28, T22, T7, and second are her last 5 starts. The second being 5th longest to go, most recent being the closest one. Buying, selling, Nelly, plus 800.
Yeah, buying.
Yeah. Give me all that. Jeeno Thitikul, plus 800 as well, but she has finished T9, T5, 4th, T12, T2, and 3rd in her last 6 starts.
Buying.
Yeah, got to buy. Lydia Ko, plus 1,400, T35 last week, T6, win, T48, and 6th in her last 5 starts.
You know, this course doesn't sit up very well for Lydia when it plays firm and fast. And now that it's wet, no. Plus, early reports, she got something going on with her neck.
Yep,
so she got a bum neck. It's not good. I'm going to sell.
I'm with you there. Nasa Hataoka, 4th biggest favorite. That was surprising me. Plus 2,200. I know she's a major killer, but 6th, T17, T17, T8, T14. Buying or selling Nasa?
I'm selling. Very, very accurate. Doesn't have the power to get around it.
Jeeno Ko, plus 2,200 as well. T7, T53, MC, T18, T45.
I'm selling here. Jeeno Ko, that T7, I understand that, but really that's an outlier for how if you look at like the last 6 months at how she's trending.
That's so much respect for Jeeno, that odds. I mean, she has not been the Jeeno Ko of 2021 in quite some time. Minji Lee, plus 2,500, T7, T35, second, T11, T28.
Yep, I'm going to sell here too. I think if it was firm and fast, I would change that a little bit just based off of last year's performance, but nope, not going to happen this week.
I'm right there with you. We are lockstep on every single one of these. Lim Kim, plus 2,500, T9, T13, T17, T7, 6th, win.
I'm buying. Okay.
Buying off what J Ray said. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I mean, she's outside of really Nelly. You can maybe add in Lily Vu, who didn't play last year, Angel Yin, but Lim Kim has played phenomenal at this golf course the last 2 years. Both top 10s both years.
Heyran Yu, plus 2,500 as well. Missed cut T17, T17, T18, T14 in her last 5 starts.
This is a good course fit for her. She just isn't really playing that well. I'm going to buy or sell.
I'm actually going to buy on this one. This is our first one we've missed there. But Charlie Hall, also plus 2,500, T28, T11, T4, T19 in her 4 starts this year.
Honestly, I have no clue. I don't think this is going to happen. I'm going to sell here. Yeah, I understand that might be a shock to people. She just isn't really, she has a weird schedule. She picks her weeks very sporadically, and who knows, last week she showed up her last tournament, when she showed up in Arizona, I believe it was, she decided to run like a 10K or something like that the Tuesday before and like completely tore up her feet and then played decent, but not so much. I don't think this is going to happen. This isn't Charlie's week.
It's all information I wanted to have before making a decision, but I'd already made my decision to buy. So I kind of am stuck on that one. I got to just ignore what you said. We talked about her Miyu Yamashita, plus 2,800, T3 missed cut, T8, T21, T4 coming in.
Yeah. I mean, she's theoretically still a rookie, but I'm going to buy. She has her floor is so high, Solly. Like the results just haven't really gotten there yet. I know there's a miscut in there, but like, she is going to be an absolute stud.
Love. Angel Yin, plus 2,800, T37, T3, T13 withdrawal, and a win to start her year on top of close call here.
Buying.
100%. This is like jumping off the page.
Unfinished business here. Still kicks herself about that playoff to Lily Vu. Yeah, buying.
She just got a gear with her driver too that not a lot of players have, and it's a place where she can actually flex it. Like it's, I'm all in on that. Ayaka Furue, plus 2,800, T20, T35, T17, 3rd, tied for 2nd.
I'm gonna sell here.
Let's go.
Again, accuracy, yep, check, but nope. You got to be able to hit the big ball around this place if you want to be able to keep up with Jeeno, Nelly, all those.
I hate to be so one note about it, but it is like just a prerequisite. It certainly seems like. Do we need to do the next one? Lauren Coughlin, plus 2,800, T3, 2nd, T44, T18, T50. We're buying that one. We know that. Last one, Rio Takeda, plus 2,800, T11, missed cut, win, T21, T9.
Selling. Not it.
Any reason?
Well, yeah, I mean, she does hit it far. She struggles with consistency and accuracy. But But ultimately, just if we're looking at form where she's at right now, it's just this isn't going to be it. Because honestly, because as an outlier, if you look T11 miscut, T21, I mean, this is one of those things where major championship, I think there's a different feeling when people, show up and there's different expectations. I just don't think this is going to happen.
Okay. That's why I asked for your take on it. I appreciate that. Let's bring in Jordan Perez. She's our resident amateur golf expert.
Yeah.
There are 8 amateurs in the field this week at the Chevron. And if you don't follow women's majors that closely, I would certainly say the women's amateurs are way closer to competing at the highest levels of the professional game than a lot of on the men's side. So, well, JP, what's your over under on what you think like the top amateur finish might be this week at the Chevron?
Ooh, I love this question, Solly. First of all, gentlemen, very, very happy to be here.
Hey.
Great week for amateur golf. My over-under on a finish, I would say our low-am finished 13th last year. I don't know. Am I being ballsy enough saying 10?
And who would it be among this group if you were like, I legit, like it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of these names on here were legitimate competitors to win this thing. And I don't think that's that outrageous to say.
No, and I'm so stuck between Lottie and Asterisk because I think they're gonna have a field day out here.
Do we have enough data to be able to like, is Asterisk long? Like, is she a long hitter? And I mean, I think she's like the coming here very soon. And it might be a little bit early, but also it just like would not surprise. It seems like, I know she runner up at the Augusta National Women's Amateur, runner up at the U.S. Women's Amateur. Like she hasn't won the big titles, but it seems like to me her game is just like I don't care what the level is. Like I'm gonna be competitive at the very top of any tournament I enter.
Yeah, she is long. She was hitting it above average last year at the U.S. Women's Open. I mean, I don't think there was really any nerves there, which is why I say I'm really between Lottie and Asterisk. I mean, it's so crazy to think about Asterisk in the context of these big stages because it's just like, yeah, you are literally like a sophomore in high school and none of this is just
she's
so
16 years old.
Like
I said she's plus 27,000 to win. I am getting a little carried away, but again, if we see her like on the leaderboard,
great value.
Week, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. Maybe for a top 20, not necessarily to win, but it's interesting.
No, for sure, Ski. Yeah, do we want to get into like I've got a couple of like 2s and maybe 3s for like broad some broad insights on our AMs?
Absolutely. You're probably stepping on what I was getting ready to say on some of these AMs, but please go take it away.
Alrighty. So we got 2 on the Annika Award watch list, which just came out today. That would be Lottie and Jasmine Koo. 2 played this event last year, Lottie and Jasmine Koo as well. 3 with major championship experience, Lottie Woad, Jasmine Koo, and Asterisk Tally. 2 Onwo winners in Lottie Woad and Carla Benet Escuder. And then I've got some 2s for the juniors. I didn't leave them out, even though I just said Asterisk. 2 runner-ups at a U.S. Girls Junior, which would be Asterisk and Gianna Clement, and 2 of the best players in the AJGA, Asterisk and then Gianna Clement.
Interesting.
I can go into them one by one if we'd like.
Well, who again? I hate to be so one note about the distance thing, but of these 8 amateurs, who hits it far? Who is like a bomber that? Again, we're talking about 6,900-yard golf course that's going to be wet, which is, I mean, that's equivalent on the men's side of over 8,000 yards of distance. That's why I'm so one note on this. But like, whose game lines up the best of all of these?
I'm feeling Lottie this week, especially because it's not going to play as firm as it did last year. I would also say Jasmine Koo as well. Has the distance too. The further down the list I go, I don't know. Carla Benet, I think, could get around here as well. But generally speaking, the further down we go, I don't know. But I would say those 3 names I feel the best about.
Cody, anything you got for JP?
No, I was going to say, I'm glad you mentioned Jasmine. Obviously has been on this podcast before, is the one that you referenced that was a top 20 in this tournament last year. I think does have the distance. If you want to talk about course knowledge and history, I think this is a big time spot for that, specifically how this early week has been for them. You know, nobody really got to play a full practice round today. Yesterday, obviously, probably not for the amateurs. They probably didn't play in the pro-am, but there's a ton of other commitments and everything that they have to do. So really only like a day and a half for them to prepare before this tournament, which is kind of unheard of before a major championship. But I don't know if you go back just history experience. I love where you're going with Jasmine. I love where you're going with Lottie. I think Lottie learned a lot last year, but everything was coming so fast at that time. Got to understand this tournament is a week further back this year than it was last year. It was immediately following the Masters and, a week removed for her annual win. So she had to shuffle everything around. She was missing college tournaments and not really understanding where she was currently at. I think I'm there with Jordan, is that I think it's Lottie for low amateur. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if she contends in this tournament. She has everything that you need to get around this golf course. It seems to have like nerves of steel, and not a lot really, can mess with her, but it's really good to see the amount of amateurs that are in this. No Gianna Clemente really mentions it all, which still I think just needs more time and more experience here. And that's something that Nelly touched on in her, press conference this week, of like when she qualified for the US Women's Open at age 14, like she was just kind of blown away by seeing all these professionals that she sees on TV. But, year after year, you keep going and you keep putting yourself in those positions and having those opportunities. You start to feel, kind of natural being there. And that's the experience that all of them can fall back on.
I will note Gianna has had some really good professional experience, even though this is her first major championship, which I couldn't really believe. But if you guys remember that crazy stretch of Monday qualifying for 3 events in a row in 2023, that was bonkers. She also made the cut at ShopRite last year, and at Honda this year, she had a good finish. So I'm curious to see how she plays this week. I think, yes, being in those bigger positions in the bigger spotlight when the stage gets grander, I would like to see her level up. And I think that's where we're seeing that a lot with Asterisk. But I don't know. One thing, Cody, going back to Jasmine, is what I would like to see is I kind of want to see her shake off, and I don't think there's any real scar tissue here because she probably impressed herself with the way that she played last year. But I'd like to see just how she does returning back to a place like this. I think Anma that week was a bit, there was a lot more pressure on her than she expected to have. And I think that certainly took a toll on her performance. Not that she had a bad finish by any means, but I think she expected more out of herself. And same with Asterisk too, because she played last week at JM Eagle and at a course that she performed extremely well at the US Girls Junior last year. So, I'd like to see how some of these girls shake off the scar tissue a little bit and perform, but that's where people like Lottie come in with nerves of steel and they wipe it off and they say, all right, I'm here to contend.
Need Lottie to have more fun than she had on the back nine at Augusta this year. That's
I would love to see her have a little more fun.
All right. Thank you, JP. Any parting thoughts before we let you go?
My one parting thought is I'm sorry for having no vowels in my username or handles. I will never change my username, but I will never wear the hats. They are really cringy and terrible.
The vowel thing is not that big a deal. Just the hats is a way bigger deal. It's totally fine. We're fine with that. So
awful.
Thank you as always for your incredible insight on the women's amateur game, Jordan, and have a great week following the first major of the year. You got me excited to follow 8 more storylines that I was not on my radar to start the day. That's the point of this show. So thank you.
See ya.
All right, let's get into some of our plays and picks. Obviously, we're light on staff in here, but we are not light on the plays and everybody submitting their plays. I want to give a shout out to FanDuel, the official sportsbook of No Laying Up. You can check out all of our plays on the No Laying Up tab on the FanDuel Sportsbook. And I don't need to tell you guys this, but you know this. Odds are, of course, subject to change on there. But our big NLU parlay this week, everybody nominated a player here. We have Yelimi No, Angel Yin, and Lydia Vu all to top 20. That one's plus 340. That's one of my favorites. I'll claim it. Angel Yin was my nominee there. And as you can see up on the screen right now, a bunch of our plays are in there as well. Also wanted to highlight the NLU mega bonus, all of Nelly Korda for a top 5 finish, Lydia Vu top 10, and Angel Yin top 20. That's plus 2,000. That feels fantastic. Like that is a mega bonus opportunity there. So a fun one to follow. We got a tap in up there. We got a Peloton play. We got the stack and tilt. Check all those out on the FanDuel Sportsbook, the LPGA betting odds tab. We got the no laying up specials on there. We appreciate them putting all those together as well. We got some one and done plays as well. Everyone submitted these as well. DJ is taking Lauren Coughlin at plus 2,800. TC is taking Rio Takita at plus 3,300 after Cody sold her. I am also going to be on the Lauren Coughlin train with no fear of being the cooler here at plus 2,800. Neil might be trying to ride out a different bet of his towards the 11 majors. He is going to take Nelly at plus 800. Smart play for a one and done. I don't know. We might have overthought this with all the odds and all that. KVV, not sure if he knew what he was doing with this. I think he was trying to pick a top 20 play, but he ended up picking Lottie Wode to win at plus 11,000, which if that hits, again, an all-time giraffe call. This is the giraffe actually making a move right here.
I love it.
And sticking his neck out here for a champion. Randy has Jeeno Thitikul at plus 800, which I'm gonna hold Randy to the fire on Sunday night on this one. If he's gonna hold TC's feet to the fire on Fleetwood, he's gonna get this turned right back. And mine on Finau, he's gonna get this turned back on him on Sunday if that's gonna be his play. So, who's your pick to win, Cody?
Come on. I'm Lauren Coughlin. Come on, that's not even from the heart. That's just straight up. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna join you guys. It's gonna be awesome. I will say I also have another writer on this though, because my early season pick that Randy and JP and I did, where we go through each major of the year, and I already had Nelly on the book, so I'm feeling pretty good.
You got the board dotted like TC does. I honestly think like the winner will come from Angel Yin, Nelly Korda, or Lauren Coughlin. Like if I had to pick three people to dot the board with, that would be my picks. But who won't win? Who on the game we always play around majors? It's got to be a high name up there on the list on the odds sheet. Who will not win?
Yeah, well, the first one that's not going to win is strictly because she's not even in this championship. So there's 24 of the top 25 in the Rolex rankings that are teeing it up for this first major, and Rose is missing. So still nursing a bum neck. It stinks because I know that, she wants to shore up and get working on her major record. We're talking about a lot of other players here, and hey, you kind of got to show us a little bit more. And Rose is to that point now too, but she's definitely not going to win. It's also, I am very concerned about Lydia. I know the neck thing. I was riding so high, like coming in here. I was like, oh man, she's playing so well. The distance could be a concern, but man, she gets her putting going, and like nobody hits her hybrids and long irons better than her. Doesn't really matter how firm the surfaces are. And then I started thinking about, I was like, oh no, like this I don't think it's going to happen. So I think you can throw Lydia out there. The other one that's playing really, really good, had a tough week last week, two-time defending her championship out in LA, but that's Hannah Green, currently 5th in the world. It shocks me that Hannah is that far up there, but man, she has won a lot and puts herself in a lot of really good positions. I just don't know if it's going to be this week for her. And then the last one is really Ronnie Yen, is that, she won the KPMG 2 years ago and has really been struggling with her putter. And it just is not good because she is like, seems to have nerves of steel, doesn't back down to any big shot, wants to be in that moment desperately, and just is kind of have a botchy putter going right now. It's tough timing.
Man, you claimed a lot of players in there, but I'm going to join you on Lydia. I don't think this is going to be Lydia's week. And if you made me throw a second name in there, I'll throw in Minji as well. I'll say those are. If you want me to get cocky and feel myself, because Lydia feels a little cheap with the neck injury and all that, but those are my two not winners this week. So
do you know what I want to say? Like flyers that you got to look out for that have are trending and have big time games. Esther Henslett, somebody in the chat mentioned her earlier. Power player, hits a high ball, can absolutely put the lights out of it. Has really good year going so far, and is starting to get more experienced in these big moments. Like definitely can do that. Most people remember her if they watched the Scottish Open last year. That's where LC ended up taking down. And Maya Stark played so good here last year. Was the only person that really put a ton of pressure on Nelly. Didn't have the best start of the year, but came back in match play, played really good, and is now like finally putting it all together. So there you go. There's some outside of the top 15, 20 picks for you guys. But yeah, pumped.
Love it. All right, let's get to a couple other stories around the world of golf so far this week. Of course, this podcast brought to you by our friends at Whoop. We've been wearing Whoop for a few years now. I left my charger in Augusta, just got it dropped back off at my house. It died for a week. I was missing the daily insights, man. I make better decisions when I'm wearing the Whoop, when it's all charged up. If you're not familiar with it, it's a fitness wearable. It does a lot more than just activity tracking. You see people wearing on their wrists or their biceps out on tour. Look, and we're not pros, but we all use Whoop to help us hit our health goals, whether it's sleep, recovery, or fitness related all year long. Honestly, I just like I love to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, you went to bed at 9:15 last night. You didn't scroll your phone until 11:45. Like, you went to sleep at 9:15 and you got 8 hours of sleep. Good job. I feel way better about myself, and you can do the same as well. And you can head to join.whoop.com/NLU to get started with Whoop with a free 1-month trial. It includes the hardware and a completely unlocked app experience. If you don't love it, you can send it back. No questions asked. If you already have a Whoop, you can join our Whoop group with code COMM. That's COMM-NLU. That's COMM, COMM-NLU. We got the Zurich as well this week. We got Chapultepec. That's kind of sneaking up on me. Live Mexico. Always enjoy watching that golf course. A couple highlight pairings at Zurich. We got Rory and Shane Lowry, of course, defending. We have Carl Phillips, Michael Thor Bjornsson, Sahith, and Aaron Rai are playing together. This is Sahith's fourth partner in 4 appearances. Is Sahith a personality issue here? Do we not find him a partner?
Who is the guy that always was like, God, who was it?
It was Ryan Palmer.
Ryan Palmer,
like the best pairings ever. Yeah. We got the Postman, JT Poston, and Keith Mitchell. That's a vibey pairing in that group. The Højgaard twins, of course, playing together. The Fitzpatrick brothers playing together. Harry Higgs, Joel Damon. I hope that's a feature group this week, because that is an easy group to follow as well. Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin playing together as well. And then Colin Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama. That was an interesting pairing. I know Morikawa's played this in the past. I forget who he's played this with, but that name, just not a lot of like Ryder Cup stuff going on in this one, other than really Rory and Shane. And no Xander can't let.
Didn't Colin play with Max?
I think that's right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Huh. The other one group that didn't make the notables, but notables in our heart, ZB and Patrick Fishburne. They gave it a run last year. BYU boys, you got to watch out for them. We'll see what they can do this year, but I think it's going to be difficult. I'm very interested to see what game Rory shows up with, because he's kind of had a whirlwind the last, 4 or 5 days. There's been a ton going on all over the world, but now in New Orleans with Shane, and as long as they can make some putts, they can hit the ball a mile. I'm pretty sure you're going to see them there on Sunday.
Good vibes. It should be fun to watch. Massive ratings at the RBC last week. They had 4.36 million viewers on average for the final round event, the largest since 2002. And the weekend CBS averaged nearly 3.3 million, up 62% from 2024. That's from Josh Carpenter. Can you explain this massive number? I mean, like, I know it's Easter, which, Bob Herrig was reporting that Easter is actually usually a bad day for ratings. I was absolutely stunned to see this rating.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, a lot of people really excited about golf coming off of Rory's Masters win.
Yeah.
And I think if you're drifting behind a major championship like that, I think I would be very interested to look at like the 5-year outlook on it that shows, because it was an exciting tournament. JT is such a, people are either really in on JT or people are like, nah, I don't like that guy. It's very weird. So I don't know where these big numbers are coming from exactly, outside of like, people are just fired up for some golf.
And I mean, the early round coverage drew 536 on Golf Channel, which is a record for the event as well. So it's not just a fluke pop up on the weekend, but I think that's a good thing for golf, good thing for the tour. I would hesitate to celebrate it too much and say all the problems are solved. A lot of the problems I think are definitely still there, but a few other interesting JT notes. He said in an interview, I don't remember who this is with. Sorry, I can't give credit here, but that Joe will not remain on his bag once Matt Minster is back and healthy, which was an interesting note. But that seemed like he was kind of committed to that, and almost like there wasn't much more thought into it than that, and that all parties of that understood that as well. So thought that was interesting based on our conversation we had last Sunday. Also, PGA Tour put out a clip from his interview talking about how he had called up Xander and like said he wanted to go spend some time with him on the putting green and pick his brain about putting. And I don't want to like sit here and paint like, yeah, two hours with Xander is going to flip you from a negative putter into a very big positive putter. But I find that super interesting of like two top players in the game. Xander sharing some putting tips and like a very serious improvement on JT's putting this season. Very noticeable. Whether or not it sustains through an extended period of time, we will see. But I just found that interesting of like this many years into his career. JT, as much as I like him, he can be a bit of a know-it-all at times, and just to kind of like raise your hand and be like, you know what, I'm gonna get some advice on some of this. And I mean, he went from negative 0.28 per round last year to now positive 0.55. That is a massive improvement, like massive improvement. And I hope it sustains. And like honestly, like hearing that made me think a lot more. Like, yeah, that might be able to. Like that makes me feel better than just thinking that it might be a fluke run of some kind.
It's wild to hear with these guys when they start talking like golf in their golf games too, how they break it down and it truly just goes back to like the simplest fundamentals you possibly can ever hear. Okay. We always hear Scotty and how he's just like constantly working just like on the grip, making sure the grip's the exact same every single time. All Xander and what JT said was like, yeah, they met up in South Florida. I don't know what photo shoot or something they were doing it, but they decided to spend a half a day together and really focused on putting for a couple hours. And Xander asked him like, hey, talk me through your routine. Like, how do you do this? And a lot of the things that JT said, he's like, well, like back in the day, I would like set up my station and like make sure that, my stance is the same. My grip is the same. My eyes over the putter are the same. My stroke is the same. But like, that's all dialed now. So I like don't really have to do that. And Xander's like, well, it seems like you used to putt really good. Like maybe you should go back and do that. Just straight fundamentals 101 stuff. It's wild and how quick you get somebody that can a differing eye than your dad or whoever else is looking at your game all the time to put you back center and look at him go.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about somebody who's been one of the best putters in the worldwide since the start of the year. I mean, that's just where it's like, okay, we might be talking about a serious, career bounce back here. Eamon Lynch mentioned this. I did not watch the full clip, so I apologize if I'm taking any of this out of context. Just saw some of the social media reaction. Claiming that JT was potentially the top American player of this generation, or did claim that he is the top American player of this generation. And maybe that's an interesting thought starter. What's your reaction to that kind of claim?
It's interesting for sure. I mean, I think the whole thing about last Sunday was like, oh yeah, JT hadn't like really done anything since that last major that he won. And before that, like he was also kind of in like a slump. But best American of this generation, that's kind of wild, man.
I think what jumps off the page is Brooks Koepka's won 5 majors as fast as we are to forget that. But I would definitely say Brooks Koepka a more like if what matters is majors, Brooks Koepka is easily more accomplished than JT. But like, who has been better at golf in this generation, like more consistently? It's definitely JT over Koepka. Would you trade JT's career for Koepka's? Probably not. Not many people would, but it's an interesting conversation at least. But yeah, he's not one. I mean, even Jordan has more majors than Justin does. It's hard to say that, but I just found that comment to be interesting. So.
Hey, don't forget too the Brooks versus JT comparison. They both also are just one-time golf course co-designers. Okay, so true. Panther National and Memorial Park, you got to give them credit for that.
That's very true. Yeah, like I mentioned, we have Liv Chapultepec teeing off on Friday, and big news this week: Xander Schauffele launched a new app, which finally, I mean, they've just been waiting for this really since we got into the business. Been waiting for Xander to launch an app, but. I'm sure there's a lot of big stuff dropping in that one, but that was the big news of yesterday. And I'm sure everybody's rushing to download the Xander Schauffele app.
It sounds like an incredible write-off to me. I remember a couple of years ago when people were like, finally talking about how much money these players are making and things like that. And they're like, oh yeah, but they're paid out to like charities and separate LLCs. And somebody did a deep dive on the Xander Schauffele Foundation. And they found like it was like a 2013 Toyota Tacoma or something like that as the only asset listed. Like, I wonder where that truck's at, man. Maybe we can find out in the app now.
It's interesting. I have to look into that. All right, Cody, any parting thoughts here as we get to kick off major week here and a busy other week around the world of golf?
No, I'm pumped. Like I said, we only get 5 majors.
Going up tomorrow?
That's of course a joke. We're gonna see. I think I might hit the road tomorrow morning, go down, spend tomorrow in Houston, and maybe Friday morning before I come back. We'll see what the kids' mood is in. But I'm pumped for the Chevron. And last year, well, actually the last 2 years, me and the big fella, he's gonna be back from vacation on Friday. But we usually do a 36-hole update. We have changed that for this year. We're trying something new. So we're actually going to be live Saturday night at the conclusion at the 54-hole mark to see. We're going to have more golf to be able to talk through, and it'll be closer to get people fired up to go into that Sunday round. So we'll be live, Big and myself. We might have a couple guests come through Saturday night right here on the No Laying Up YouTube channel and X account, not the Xander Scheffler app, but the X
God, now we got to clarify that every time.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. Very, very excited. Go LC.
Great job with all the preview content. It's got me very excited as well. Thanks to Justin Ray, Jordan Perez, Cody, one of the ones and twos. As always, to our friends at FanDuel, Rhoback, and Whoop. Looking forward to watching some major championship golf this week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in live here on a Wednesday afternoon, or if you're catching up in your car the next day, get to your TVs and watch some golf this weekend, or go play some golf. Just have some golf in your life this weekend. How about that? Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you back here Saturday night. Cheers.
Cheers.
FanDuel, the official sports book of No Laying Up, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problems, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.